Hi everyone, I am Anonymous Traveler. Today, I will talk about the symbolism of water or flood in the context of endless becoming. Also, I will talk about why attaining the Gnosis of the inner void is really important. Water symbolizes many things. However, for today, I will focus on the certain negative aspect of water symbolism, such as the flood, the sea, the stream, etc. The negative aspect of water symbolism that I am talking about is basically the water or the sea or the flood being a symbol of endless becoming. In Western tradition, sometimes those who achieved the goal of spiritual alchemy are described as the people who are saved from the waters. Sometimes such expression means the water of Lethe, which makes us forget everything. But sometimes it means the turmoil of existence itself. And it's not still and peaceful water, such as a lake. It is the flood, the ferocious stream, or the raging sea. In this aspect, this type of water symbolizes the nature of our existence, which is endless becoming. Also, in the Eastern tradition, the Buddha used the term crossing the flood when describing the one who attained the final awakening or enlightenment. One of the symbols the Buddha used for the enlightenment is reaching the other shore or reaching an island free from the flood. Again, the flood itself is a symbolization of endless becoming. Then, what is becoming? The water is a symbolization of the world of manifestation. The world of manifestation is manifested based on becoming. And each day, we are drowning in the flood toward meaningless death and rebirth. Becoming also can be described as grasping by our inner monkey mind. And this grasping provides the energy for the movement of energy, which is the foundation of the manifested world. There is no becoming without grasping, and the problem of endless becoming is it puts us in the state of a spiritual coma. In order to penetrate the truth, one has to stop the endless becoming, at least temporarily, by developing the penetrating insight with spiritual practice, such as meditation. One begins to see that everything is empty and all things are basically a successive process of energy movement and not a thing at all. And when it comes to meditation, I have to quote the Buddha because he was simply the most advanced meditator. And the Buddha described the stages of awakening in 4 stages. And the interesting thing is, the Buddha used the Pali term Sotapanna for the first stage of awakening. The meaning of Sotapanna is stream enterer, which is someone who entered the stream of awakening in the middle of a flood. And the interesting thing is, some of old Hermetic texts in the West also use the similar expression when it comes to spiritual awakening. Time to time, we can find such references as those who have crossed the sea, or those who swim against the current of the world, even in the Western text. It is not a coincidence, because the nature of true spiritual development is the same for everywhere. And when they use the symbolism of the water, the flood, the sea, or swimming against the current, they are describing the similar concept. In this context, the water is what hinders spiritual development because we are in the state of coma in the water of becoming. When we live in this zombie-like state, we are simply a prey or victim to the various spiritual forces that feed on human energy. Many gods feed on human energy. However, the worst among them are archons or Mara. Gnostics called them archon, and the Buddha called them Mara, but they are the same spiritual entity. They basically stop us from escaping this endless becoming. For them, our spiritual slavery and the coma is lifeblood because that's what they feed on. And when one is determined for the spiritual awakening, he is bound to swim against the current of the world, which obsesses them. According to the teachings of the Buddha, the first stage of awakening is stream entry. This means that one has entered a unique stream in the middle of the sea, which goes against the world of manifestation. As a default, this world flows in a certain direction. That direction is toward meaningless death and meaningless rebirth. However, when one reaches the first stage of awakening, he enters a different stream that goes against the natural order of this world of manifestation. In the traditional Buddhist teaching, when one reaches the first stage of awakening, one will lose three things. Those are self-view, clinging to rites and rituals, and skeptical indecision. However, the most important thing here is self-view. What happens in the first stage of awakening is, basically, one is experiencing the non-self or anatta for the first time. It is basically the same thing as attaining the Gnosis of the inner void. It is a profound experience of emptiness or void of one's selfhood. And the thing is, there is no substance in this world. Everything in this world is a combination of various energy waves and vibrations. But if one can penetrate it with true Gnosis, one can see that all these things are empty. And to experience one's very own selfhood being empty is the moment of the first stage of awakening. The Buddha particularly stressed to strive for achieving this state, at least within this lifetime, and it was a very practical strategy. The thing is, whenever we die and rebirth, we forget everything. So making a progress is very difficult because by default, we are repeating the same situation over and over again. The manifested world has a tremendous amount of gravity. It pulls us down continuously, and it's like we are drowning in the flood every time we are born. Of course, the best case scenario in this situation is you complete spiritual development and become a master of the outer void within this lifetime. However, it is extremely difficult. But at least if you can gain the gnosis of the void of the selfhood, then you can create fundamental deviation within your energy structure. And this fundamental deviation brings you to the direction toward the great outer void. So, even if you cannot complete the final task in this lifetime, at least you will carry your achievement to the next life. Those who gained the gnosis of the void are not exactly normal human. Their energy structure changed fundamentally, and this is something that cannot be undone. That's why it's important to reach this level of gnosis at least within this lifetime. According to the Buddha's assessment, even the least talented person can reach the final awakening within 7 lifetimes if that person became a stream enterer in this lifetime. However, whether it's say 7 lifetimes or more lifetimes, one thing for sure is when one's energy structure is changed fundamentally, he is bound to reach the great outer void sooner or later. Then one can make a choice between a path to become the one with the God of a manifestation and a path to return to the world of manifestation as a class 2 God. By the way, one issue needs to be addressed. I used the term the master of inner void multiple times in my previous lecture. That is basically a stage where one has gained the gnosis of the void of selfhood and then successfully reassembled the component of his selfhood according to his true will. So the master of the inner void is basically the next stage of spiritual development after achieving the gnosis of the inner void. And another thing that needs to be addressed is when one becomes a master of inner void, he can access the inner void by his will. So although he has to reassemble the selfhood actively. After the gnosis of the void, he will not lose the connection to the void. And let me share a practical advice. There are several ways to promote this type of gnosis. And if one wishes to awake up from this state of a spiritual coma, one of the strategies is reducing the attachment to the various group karma. Group karma is a karma belongs to a certain group, and it can be ethnicity, religion, gender, etc. As long as you are strongly identify yourself with such group karma, you are more vulnerable to the pulling power of communal gravity. Our goal is to overcome the communal gravity and become a truly independent spiritual entity. So reducing group karma's influence is important. The more you reduce your attachment to such group karma, the less you are tied and bound by the heavy gravity of the communal reality. Even without such group karma, one is always bombarded with communal gravity. So, try to minimize such group karma's influence, and it will be beneficial for your practice. Thanks for listening, and all the best.